Hello, welcome to Astro Breze's astrology study group. And today we are going to study a little bit of the United States chart. The chart of the small letter U, United States, the states that are united of the United States, not the corporation. There's been I'm not going to get into it totally, but I just want to distinguish that this is the actual chart of when the states, the colonies that stood united. It wasn't the hijacked United States corporation that came later. So I just want to make that distinguishment. But anyway, we'll go over some other times of things in the future. Like I put in the chat or in the recognition that we could also look at when the United States was officially founded. In 1492. Uh, but how about before that? What's his name? Erickson. Um, anyway, we could look at some of those other times to get just more data. But since this is the official breaking away of the colonies from the British, it was like a divorce decree. It was like taking that step and saying, no, we are a separate group of people here. This is different. This is, England's over there, the group here, it was first the United uh, group of states. I'm not going to get into the history totally of that, but I just want to look at this initial breaking away, breaking free, creating something different, getting out of repression, and then becoming a land for all in many different ways. So if we take a look at this, we can see that the United States' chart is in the middle and the transits are on the outside. So let's just orient ourselves with this a little bit and get this a little bit in our head. And we have here the United States as Sagittarius rising, which makes it much more frank, honest, open, and fun, I would say. You got that fire energy, which is definitely more infectious, having that fire energy. There's enthusiasm, and, the Sagittarian energy is all about outward, sharing what you've known with going out away from yourself and exploring, and this whole idealism of of freedom, and I'm going to go over there. It's kind of interesting. But the sun is in Cancer. The United States sun is in Cancer, and Jupiter and Venus were all, and Mercury we're all in Cancer, and then this is the vertex. In case you're wondering that, there's a we did a couple studies on the vertex, but anyway, that's what that is. So anyway, we have this group of planets in Cancer. And Cancer is, you think about it, it's about it's about taking refuge. It's Cancer's is in that crusty shell. It's but it's nurturing, and it takes care of, but it's also a cardinal sign, so it takes the initiative. And it could be, by being feminine sign, um it could be manipulative, it could be but not in an outward way, not like it's in your face. It's more subtle, but it's also uh, the the home where you feel secure. That crab's gushy insides is inside that shell that protects it. And it's in the bottom hemisphere. Traditionally, it's it's occupied in that bottom hemisphere, so it's underneath, and that makes sense. It's traditionally the fourth house, the home. Um, it's again feminine. It's cardinal. It's it's still in the first group of elements. That's we've got the first grouping of elements: fire, earth, air, and water. So it's the water of that first grouping. So it's still that pretty primal energy. So we've got a lot of that. The United States has a lot of that. And then it also, as we move around, it what else is kind of interesting? And then it has an Aquarius moon. um, it makes it more, like help the little guy, the for the masses. But it takes this sort of, um, superior point of view by being that way. All right. Anyway, let's just be just orienting ourselves about that. So I think it's interesting now. We've got a couple things that are coming around, and we've got the United States has its Pluto return. We can see United States is Pluto's at 27 degrees, Capricorn 33 minutes, and we've just passed that. Pluto's just came, went into dipped its toe into Aquarius, and now it's in its retrograde. So it's right now at 29 Capricorn, and it will go back to 2753. So it's like 20 seconds almost back onto its own Pluto. Nonetheless, it's still that energy of a Pluto return. And this is interesting when I was thinking about the dates. This is the first official Pluto return. But if we think that, the United States, people coming over here starting in droves like 1492, then this would like kind of be its second, really, but not as an organized group or individual, or not into it, a organized nation. Okay. But anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. So the Pluto return is still in effect, and it's going to get almost right on it again, over the next little while, the next several months, because it goes direct in the 11th of October. So we're going to be getting ever closer to that, Pluto and Pluto just in Capricorn. So a lot of that establishment, a lot of that, we got to define our boundaries. We have to go deep. We got to get rid of all the stuff that we've accumulated that's not working and throw it out. Otherwise, it will wreck us. And we're kind of going through that at the moment, I feel. Okay, moving along. Look at Chiron. I mean, we haven't talked about that a whole lot, and I kind of prefer not to talk about a lot of that because it gets confusing. I like to stick with the more of the known planets. But anyway, it's just interesting that it's that the transiting Chiron is almost right over United States' Chiron, and just the image of the wounded healer, right? I'm not going to get into the whole story about that, but it's reminiscent of the wounded healer. It's very interesting. And then, we're healing a lot of our deep wounds on a lot of levels. And then we're almost coming into the third Uranus return. Okay, right now, Uranus is in 22 degrees Taurus, and we know that it spends about 7 years in a sign, and it's several years in. And when do I have it? Uranus. Oh God, I have it over here somewhere. Got a page of notes. Anyway, it's going to be a year-ish. Probably. I got too much written on here. Anyway, it's going to be a year or more before it goes into probably. I think it's 2025. I should look at my ephemeris real quick for you. But anyway, it doesn't matter that much. We'll get to it when it gets closer. But I just wanted to point out the fact that that's coming closer. So it's an 84-year cycle, and 84 times 3 is 252. Right now, the United States is 247 years old. So what's 3, 4, 5 years? 5 years before it has its, at that rate, more or less. Third Uranus return. Interesting. Okay, so that's kind of, orients you to that. And we see recently, because it's a Cancer, sun just passed it, because the United States just had its birthday. So now the sun is 19 degrees, United States is 13. Because Mercury travels with the sun, and right now it's ahead of the sun, it was just at where the United States is, just had a Mercury return, has a sun return. So there's a lot of interesting things here, several returns, just to get ourselves oriented on that. Return energy, it's kind of like, the place comes home to where it was. There's a resonance. It's like an octave, like middle C to the next C, do, right? It's the same, but different. So we've got a lot of that going on. It's just kind of, it's like, there's a lot resonating in place right now. All right. So what's coming up? We talked about Pluto. Look at the transiting Neptune. Okay. Transiting Neptune is still in Pisces here. It's 27 Pisces, and it is sextile the United States is Pluto. See, it's 2 signs away. It's this, you think, feminine sign, and then there's Aquarius masculine and then back to feminine over here at Capricorn. So 2 signs away, it's the same degree, 1, 2. It's a sextile. So what it has in common is the element, I mean, the polarities. So they're both feminine. So what do we think about that? So Pluto and Neptune, transiting Neptune. Neptune could be confusion, it could be illusion, it could be seeing behind the veil, it could be seeing into the depths of Pluto. It's a good resonance. So maybe it's bringing things out to be seen, that maybe a first wave of that, before it gets deeper on that level. It's maybe bringing things that people can handle, that because it's in a good aspect with Pluto. Pluto, is that deep stuff. It's that transition. It's that, death. It's that things that need to be transformed. It's stuff beneath the surface, stuff you don't want to look at, stuff that's yucky. So I think, interesting enough, the movie The Sound of Freedom just came out on the 4th of July, which is some of the first information about child trafficking to be coming out into way more into public awareness. It's been going on. There's a lot of things about that, but this is, I guess, for the first shoe to drop over in this to raise awareness. And of course, there's a lot of resistance. Oh, it's not true. And of course. But anyway, it's that Neptunian stuff in Pluto. It's that, that looking behind the veil at stuff you don't really want to see, but it's in a palatable enough way, or it's dumbed down or watered down enough to where people can acknowledge that that's happening. All right, next thing. Neptune is out of making like a not a good aspect, I should say. It's making that weird semi-sextile 30 degrees away from the United States' moon. So that's, we've got now kind of something that's emotional. It's bringing up, some emotional stuff. It's like that doesn't fit. They're not, there's nothing in common between the moon, especially here, and Neptune. They're just out of sorts. It's this annoying, irritating aspect. So that Neptune stuff is resonating over with that emotional tone of the nation. And then we said that the transiting Pluto or Uranus, I'm going from the outer planets to the inner planets. It's because they're there longer. We'll be visiting this for a while, but I just kind of want to zone in because it's easier, I think, for me to go that way. And then we'll see more presently the current planets moving because they move so much faster. We mentioned that that Uranus, you could see there, it's almost getting, it's getting close, but it's still several years away. Interesting enough, though, that transiting Uranus is making a trine over to the United States's, where is it? Neptune. Up here. Okay, so United States Neptune at the top of the chart here, it's at 22 Virgo. So 22, try to look for the same degree. That's the United States. So 22 Virgo is an earth sign. And we have Uranus over here at 22 Taurus, another earth sign. So they're 120 degrees apart. So that's another interesting thing. We've got another Neptune connection, but instead of the transiting Neptune, we've got United States as Neptune. So we got a couple Neptune resonances. That's why I was going in that direction I did. And this is sudden or surprising, and it's of the earth. It's material things. It's busting open, the veil behind earthy things on the physical level. That's what I meant to say. Things that are financial, things that are on the physical plane. And that Neptune is usually not. It's usually off that, but it's like you're busted, and we all know. And that's kind of what's happening there as well, because sudden insights into the illusion, or something like that. That's one thing we can say. But I think that's really huge right now. That's happening. Now we've got coming up, Uranus will be making a nice angle to to the United States is, well, it is already actually, um, where is it? Mercury. There we go. So Mercury's, the United States is Mercury's at 24, and this is at 22. So as a transiting sorry, the transiting Uranus gets further on, when it hits 24 degrees, it will be making a sextile totally to the United States's Mercury. So what this is going to be getting closer to sudden insights. This is a nice angle because they're both feminine signs, so it's more inner, could be more intuitive, or it could be more inner than outward. This could be an inner reaction of things. So this is a sudden insight, or sudden communication, or communications about shocking things. It could be another way to look at that. And that's going to be coming up, as it's going to have its retrograde phase, but then as it gets in the next forward, it will get more and more. So this is interesting now that when I told you that movie just came out, um, this is in that beginning phase of, I think, information coming out. And again, it's a sextile, so it's easier to swallow. They're putting a little sugar on that medicine. And then coming up, it will be trining over to Pluto. Okay, so as this goes on, it'll be trining over to the United States, Pluto at 27 degrees, because that's Capricorn's another Earth sign. So as that gets closer, in this next 5 years, I'm just giving you a big picture because things happen fast. So we have this interesting Uranian Earth trine that's going to be kind of, resonating, or sex almost, yeah, well, trine, in a few different ways, resonating over the next few years on the earthly level. So right now, the ones I showed you, and then as this again goes closer to 27 degrees, it will trine over to United States Pluto. More shocking things, more sudden turnarounds, or sudden or deep shocks. Well, we keep revisiting that because it's going to be a few years away, but I wanted to orient you to that. So what's coming up more now, we're getting in closer. We did that planet. So if we look at transiting Saturn, we have Saturn over here at 6 degrees Pisces. And if we look at United States is, remember, that's a feminine sign. It's also a water sign. And we know United States has the Cancer stuff. And we look at this other and we say, oh, that's all like real close to that degree. So as Saturn keeps going retrograde, it will hit the United States's, or I should, conjunct, or I mean, trine the United States's Jupiter. So that's big. We have the structure, the resistance to constriction in a harmonious angle to United States's Jupiter, large, expanding. So there may be some kind of an interesting thing coming up on that. We got an expansion and a contraction, very kind of opposed aspects, but it's in a nice angle to one another. And then let's see, how far back will it go? It it goes back, I think, to like 1 degree or something, 1 degree. And then it will also trine over to Venus. So we have Saturn in a good aspect to the United States is Jupiter Venus conjunction. So maybe that's putting some structure or some maturity, or some I'll just stay with those two, structure and maturity, to a lot of the things that are happening, that people have to step up to the plate on a lot of levels. We have to get rid of the rotten, overgrown crap that's happened, the things that have, all the entitlements and all the stuff that's just been built on lies, and the whole media that's just built on lies. So this is giving the United States a chance, I think, to see and overcome where all these lies come from. So this is a big deal coming up with the Saturn, because again, Saturn brings in structure, or being in Pisces, it's going to be dissolving too, because Saturn in Pisces has that dissolving structure. And it's going to maybe dissolve and erode things that haven't, crusty barnacles that have grown in the United States that shouldn't be there. There's a lot of, there was a lot of growth, and then it just didn't get, um, it got out of hand in a lot of different ways. So we've got some interesting Saturn structure dissolving, but trine over to two benefic planets in the United States. Very interesting. One other thing that's going to be happening too is, um, well, I'll get there in a second. Let me just go on with this. So we soon we're going to have the Saturn trining over to the Sun. So we see that Pisces, right? It's going to go retrograde, and then I think where did I got that? End of March 2024. Because Saturn's got to go all through its retrograde, and it's going to go forward again. It's like 2.5 years in the sign, so it will be not quite a year from now, like 9 months from now, that it will be trining. It'll hit the 13-degree mark and be then over to the Sun. So this is good. This is going to be putting structure or dissolving a lot of things that don't need to be in place, because we have that nice angle. It's not a square. Thank goodness. And then by April, I think it hits that at the very end of March 30th or 31st, and then it goes through like half of April. It'll be in orb, and then then we get the retrograde hit, because it does that thing, and it'll be retrograde, and then it hits it again in October 24, and then it goes the third direct hit of December 2024. So next year, we'll have that Saturn over to the United States' Sun, as it's going back and forth. Now we've got it over to the two benefics. So that's, I think, again, that's restructuring, that's dissolving, it's scrubbing away crusty barnacles and things that have grown, that shouldn't be there. It's all these bad minions in place that need to be ousted. This is, the boundaries of what our country was founded on have been ignored, locked up, and gone in a different way. And this is all coming off. Okay, what else have we got going on? These are the big ones on those outer ones. Now, getting a little closer to what's going on just in presently, we've had a couple sign changes. We have Mercury just move into Leo, so it will be bringing that Leo voice coming over the United States' North Node. So the North Node is where it's going. So it's bringing up things from the heart, bringing out that energy, bringing a communication, about things. So again, this is, pulling back that Neptunian veil, that Neptunian curtain. Now, while it's time, a lot of people are listening, and a lot of people have a sense of something's wrong, and they just don't know what, but it's just infectious, and it's going global, because it's not only United States is having a lot of these problems. It's the whole global, lockstep, elite New World Order control that's being resisted. And, astrology is fleshing it out. So Mercury bringing that news over United States at this North Node, where United States is going. So it's bringing that courage and that fight, that heating that up, with that Leo energy, sticking up, taking it, protecting our children, our most precious resource. All right, coming up to Venus. Venus is going to go retrograde. It's going, I think, it goes down to like 27 degrees, and then or 27, 28 degrees, and then it'll go retrograde. So it's going to be in this Leo part of the chart. It's going to be back and forth the United States' eighth and ninth house. The eighth house of secrets and sex and death and other people's money, and all that scorpionic stuff. And then it goes back into that altruistic ninth house. So that will be interesting. um, and then Mars just went into Virgo, at the top of the United States, getting it closer to the top of the chart, going through the ninth house, and then, as Mars goes on, it will then conjunct over to United States' Neptune. See, so we've got more Neptune energy. It's like three, what did I say? It's like three or four of them already now. So transiting Mars, that energy to go forward, that warrior energy confronting that veil of that crap in Neptune. And in this Virgo part, it's going to go there with a clipboard and, the glasses on the nose going, that library book is due. No, it's going to be accountable to the things behind the scenes. It's going to be the warrior looking behind the scenes. The warrior fights through the veil. The warrior goes through the fog. So, but it's in Virgo, so it's not like it's in Pisces. So that's very interesting. All right. And then which will square, and it just did. We had, the square here, actually it's close. It just went over like several degrees ago, but it's retrograding. So you can see this. We have an opposition, a Neptune opposition. It just happened not too long ago because it's at the current one. I'm down here in the bottom is at 27. Neptune, and the United States is at 22. So we've got that also dinging. I didn't even see that till now. An opposition there. Well, so there's a lot of disillusion being dissolved, I think, coming up, and these are the biggies. There's so much going on all the time, but this is where we can see things that are really, really happening. Again, looking from out to in, I think we've noticed the most is that Neptune, that a lot of things are coming up. A lot of Pluto, Mars aspects, and then the suddenness of all the Uranian things, all the shocks. So keep this in mind. Keep listening to real news. Not mainstream. You have to find it out. You've got to seek your own out. There's a lot more truth coming out than ever before. So this is an interesting looky-see. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will be back next week. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.